Hello out there, and today we're going to be taking a look at a brand new, and I mean like brand spanking new design from WE. This is called the Miscreant 3.0, a design from Brad Zinker, who I am a very big fan of. Big shout out to the Apex Pass Around group for letting me check this knife out because, yeah, it is a very pretty one that I was really looking forward to getting my hands on. And there have been some critics of this channel recently who have been talking about how I'm doing too much budget stuff, and while this is not necessarily going to break the bank for everybody, it is a little bit more pricey. It's going to be in like the 170 range, I think. We'll talk about that price. So yeah, something a little bit different and something very clean. Just take a look at this knife in the closed position before we go any further. You know, WE executes very well consistently across all the brands that I've seen from them, and yeah, this is definitely going to be no exception. Just a very clean and well executed design. And yeah, we'll get into all the details here. Start with some size comparisons. One thing when I first looked at it, you know, 3.0 is the length of the cutting edge here, or the blade. It is definitely reminiscent of a few things that are in its size class, like an Ontario Rat 2 with that blade shape. So, you know, it does have a very familiar look in terms of that very like basic kind of functionality too, which is great. So taking a look with the mini grip Tillion, really not all that different in cutting edge and overall length either. Here is the 945. Again, relatively comparable. Something we're going to be talking about very soon on the channel is the Alliance designed Jasmine, which is a larger knife, but just wanted to get it a second or two of airtime. So we have that. And something a little bit more budget, the CRKT Pete. You know, so this is sort of right in that maybe para 3 mini grip kind of size, where a smaller EDC, but definitely, here's a para 3, but definitely fully functional. Big shout out to my buddy the Lawn Ranger for sending this my way to do a raffle for, and also check out the Vader coin. Sick. All right. So those are our size comparisons for the Miscreant. One thing to know about this model is that there is a larger version already out and available, I think. I think that one has been available and might be out of stock in some places, but that one is about 4 inches long of blade length. This one is certainly smaller. For me, a lot more agreeable. When we're taking just a broad look at it, there are two different designs or like variations that I'm aware of on this size, and there is the all like gray titanium with the gray acid wash. So looks very standard, which we'll get right back to. And then there's a black titanium as well. And the reason why I said looks standard, but there's sort of a question mark there, is, yeah, that might be considered a little bit boring, but it is signature Brad Zinker. And that's one of the things that I really like. There was someone who I was talking with just the other day who was talking about how Brad Zinker basically just makes the same design over and over again. And I don't really necessarily agree with that. You know, the more that I thought about it, I thought, well, he does have this signature look with the holes cut out and, you know, just that skeletonized sort of style that you can see from a distance that this is a Brad Zinker kind of thing. But that doesn't mean that everything's the same. And I think that signature look is a cool thing, you know. And if you think about some of his other designs, they don't all have it, but they all have versions that do have it, like the Urban Trapper, the Dog Tooth, which was made by WE. You know, all the other things that are out there, you can get it in this kind of look. So, you know, even though it might be plain or boring to see that it's just like gray on gray all the way throughout, it is very reminiscent of what Brad Zinker would do himself. So I like that. I really like that they sort of stayed true and didn't go crazy with colors with this. All right, so taking a look at the blade, we do have almost no stamping. So it's just a very clean blade. You can see the BZ, which is the Brad Zinker logo. Doesn't say WE anywhere on it. And we're going to have to probably insert a picture here. I don't even know if this is going to focus in the light that I have. But CPM 20 CV. right there on the flipper tab, which is very cool. So the Wii logo is right here on the pivot. That's the only place that you really need it. And so it's perfect. It's done very, very well, subtle, very classy. Pivot looks good too. The blade is a nice full flat grind. Again, very, very reminiscent of that Ontario Rat 2, so zero problems there. We do have some jimping. You can see a little bit of a recess here though, so there are very few little nitpicks with this knife, and the jimping not being perfect is one of them. Now, if you were using this knife in a like detail kind of mode, you know, choking up a little bit, maybe instead of pushing forward, you're pushing down, and then that jimping is going to be very useful. But as it is, you know, it's really not that functional back here until you get, you know, beyond where the frame is. All right. Again, no big deal. The knife is comfortable in hand, even though it is a little bit boxy. There's no hot spots. It really fits perfectly, like with zero issues. Righty, lefty. The clip doesn't really have any hot spots, even though there's this curvature here. So across the board, it's a comfy knife. Very nice machining throughout, so that's definitely a good thing. As we move on back, well, let's not skip over. You can expect a nice little sharpening choil on a Wii knife, and you have it here. And then when we get to the frame, we have all these cutouts, all this skeletonizing on this frame lock. So let's start by getting a weight of this thing. And actually, prior to now, I haven't even looked at that. So I don't even know what it's going to be. My guess is like 2.5. 2.3. I mean, it's pretty light, you know, and it feels light because, you know, you've got really not much going on and just a ton of these holes that, yeah, you could say it's a style thing, but it also does cut that weight, make it a very functional gent carry as well. It's not going to be a burden in any type of pocket. We put it in the closed position real quick again. You can see not the slimmest knife, but certainly not chunky. The mini grip, for example, is a little bit more chunky, so there really aren't going to be that many knives out there that are too much thinner than this, to be honest. So it hits in that area as well. One thing to note, and you'll see the polishing and in the machining of these little holes here. Now on the back side, we don't have that. So on the lock side, you don't have that polish. And I thought for a second that maybe that was just like a mistake. Maybe this was a prototype or something like that, just because we sent this one out to the group. And no, that's not the case. I mean, I looked online at a number of sites, and the pictures that I saw, they all had the polishing on this side and then not on the lock side. So that's intentional. That's the way that it is. That is a design decision. I'm not 100% sure why. I mean, maybe just with that lock bar, not trying to get in there and mess with that. I don't know. But that's the way that it is. Taking a look at the lockup, it is really, really pretty. The execution and just the look and how seamless this interface is, it's pretty top notch. I mean, I've seen about 1,000 of these things, and I mean, you can see a difference in color where that stainless steel is inserted, but otherwise, I mean, it's done real nice. So mad props for that. We have a backspacer, pretty basic there, pretty flush. And then we do have a one position, non-reversible tip-up clip. Now this clip, I like the style of it in that it matches the design, which is good. I like the way that it carries. It is really, really difficult to get in and out of the pocket, especially in. I mean, it is very snug, and you could mess with it. You could bend it. You could try to, you know, work it out so that it wasn't quite as tight, but I'm not going to do that. This isn't my knife. And yeah, so it's the other nitpicky thing, I'll say, apart from the jimping, which really isn't a nitpicky thing at all. It's not a big deal. The clip for some people will be a little bit more of a big deal, and it is a negative. Again, just how much you care about stuff like this with your clips is probably going to decide how much of a negative it is. But yeah, it's really not too big of a deal, but I don't know, in and out of the pocket. Sometimes that can get frustrating if you're really trying to use a knife, getting it back in. And I have a couple knives with crappy clips like that just, it can be a little bit frustrating. So something to be aware of. As far as action, again, this knife is pretty darn clean. It just has a very, very nice snappiness to it. The lockup looked good. Like I said earlier, it feels pretty perfect and flawless. And I've said before, and one of the reasons why I get so excited about a knife like this, or if you check way back from years ago, the review I did on the Mass Drop Dogtooth, which was produced by WE, the reason why I get so excited about knives from Brad Zinker that are executed well is because I've handled some that just aren't. And I'm not the only person, even though there are plenty of people who love their Urban Trappers and the other stuff that he's done from Boker, I just always felt that Boker didn't do his designs justice whenever they got them. That the Urban Trappers felt flimsy in a way that they shouldn't, that they just, again, at a more budget price, like, it's almost understandable, but I've always just had this desire to see a Brad Zinker design really knocked out of the park at a less than custom price. And we's done it a few times now, and it's just awesome to see. You know, the action and the lockup and all that stuff, and just the feel of it. To be completely honest, and this is not trying to knock a Brad Zinker custom, this feels about as good as his customs do. I mean, no shit. Like, it feels very, very good knife. So I have zero qualms with it. Yeah, dropping shut. You know, once it breaks that detent, it gets there. It is nice and snappy. I'm pretty stoked about this knife, guys. And here's the other thing. So again, this is like brand spanking new. It's not available everywhere yet. Blade HQ doesn't even have a price listed. They have the $190 something crossed out, and then where it says our price, it's coming soon or whatever. So I don't know what it's going to be. I think maybe 170, maybe if you're lucky, something in the 160 range. Usually there's a pretty decent discount from, you know, what that MSRP listed is. So my guess is, again, 160 to 170. It's a little bit more than what the Dogtooth was for Mass Drop, but you're dealing with 20 CV steel instead. And honestly, you think about a knife like this, at least I do, I think about if this were made by Spyderco or if this were made by Benchmade, comparable things that have come out in the last year or two from those companies. And if it had either of those brands on it, I think you'd be pushing $200 for sure. And it's odd for me to say this, because one of my, not problems with WE, but one of the reasons why I don't get more WE knives is just I feel like they're expensive. You know, they're well made, and I think there's value in them just because they are so nice, but I don't always need a knife that nice. And so, you know, I don't spend that kind of money on WEs, not very often, like rarely, to be honest. And I think that in this case, they've priced it in a way that just makes it very, very desirable, and executed it in a way that definitely does justice to what the original kind of designs and what the things that Brad Zinker puts out himself would be. So yeah, I'm pumped about this one. Really, really thankful for the opportunity to check this one out. Sad to send this along to the next person, that's for sure. So let me know your thoughts on it, guys. What do you think? Any questions, comments, complaints, suggestions? Let me know about all that stuff. I really appreciate it. I'll talk with you soon. Thanks for watching, and take care. Have a good one. Quick update here, guys. WE has actually sent out the black tie version of the Miscreant as well. The first one that I had was a prototype, and so they wanted me to get the real deal in my hands, and here is the different version, that black coated look. I think I might like this one just a little bit more. The prototype was excellent, and I did like that color design because, like I said, it was pretty true to Brad Zinker. This one checks out, so quality is consistent among the two that I've handled, even though the first one did end up being a prototype. This one is pretty darn excellent as well. The action is actually even better than the first one, so yeah, pretty pretty spot on stuff here. And so yeah, thank you to Wii for doing that. And yeah, that's really all I got, guys. So enjoy. Hope you liked the video. I'll talk with you soon.